Rain poured over the small town that evening, the kind that blurred streetlights and made every reflection shimmer with emotion. Inside a modest apartment on the second floor of a rundown building, a single dad named Ethan Cole stared at a dinner table set with trembling care, mismatched plates, one flickering candle, and the unmistakable smell of cheap pasta sauce simmering on the stove. His heart raced, not because of the food, but because his 8-year-old son, Liam, had invited someone, a woman, to join them. Ethan didn't know whether to be embarrassed or thankful. What could he possibly offer anyone when his whole life was a pile of unpaid bills, secondhand clothes, and unspoken regrets? If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected connections, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this story will remind you that sometimes the smallest moments can change everything. Ethan had never imagined life would turn out this way. Just a few years ago, he had a stable job as a construction manager, a happy wife, and a son who adored him. But everything changed when his wife, Maya, passed away after a sudden illness. Her laughter disappeared from the small apartment they once shared, leaving behind an emptiness that echoed in every corner. Ethan tried to stay strong for Liam, but the pain was constant, a quiet ache that followed him to work, to bed, to every breath. Since Maya's passing, Ethan had been juggling 2 part-time jobs, a janitor at a local diner by day and a delivery driver by night. He barely had time to rest, but he made sure Liam never went to bed hungry and that his son's small dreams stayed alive. Liam was a bright child, full of imagination, always drawing superheroes and asking impossible questions. But lately, Ethan noticed the sadness in his son's eyes, the longing for a motherly warmth that no amount of bedtime stories could replace. One afternoon, while Ethan was cleaning tables at the diner, Liam had stopped by after school, chatting with one of the regular customers, a woman who always sat in the corner booth by the window. She was elegant, calm, and carried herself with quiet confidence. Her name was Clara Reynolds. She often came in with her laptop, ordering only coffee, lost in her work. Ethan never paid her much attention beyond polite greetings. People like her, perfectly dressed, well-spoken, seemingly flawless, belonged to another world. But Liam, in his innocent curiosity, didn't see the divide. He had approached Clara one day and offered her a hand-drawn superhero card. "You look lonely sometimes," he had said. "My dad says food makes everyone feel better. You should come for dinner." Ethan had turned crimson when Clara smiled and agreed. He wanted to apologize, to explain, but the woman had been kind, assuring him she'd love to come. And now, here he was, pacing nervously as the clock ticked towards 7 p.m. He kept adjusting the crooked tablecloth, wiping already clean utensils, and checking the sauce every 2 minutes. When the knock came, Ethan froze. Liam sprinted to the door, opening it with the excitement only a child could have. And there she was, Clara, standing under the hallway light, holding a small cake box in her hands. She wasn't dressed like the polished woman from the diner tonight. Her hair was slightly loose, her makeup minimal, and her expression warm. "I hope I'm not too early," she said softly. Ethan's voice caught for a moment, but he managed to invite her in. The apartment was small, the kind where every sound seemed louder, every flaw more visible. Clara looked around, her eyes pausing on the few family photos hanging crookedly on the wall, one of Ethan, Maya, and baby Liam, smiling on a beach long ago. Dinner began awkwardly. Ethan spoke little, afraid of saying the wrong thing. Liam did most of the talking, proudly showing his drawings and sharing stories of school. Clara laughed, genuinely engaged. But when Ethan finally relaxed enough to glance at her, he noticed something unexpected, a softness behind her confident smile, a loneliness that mirrored his own. Between bites of pasta, Clara asked gentle questions about their lives. She listened more than she spoke. When Liam mentioned his mom, the air grew quiet, and Ethan felt the old pain rise in his chest. He quickly changed the subject, but Clara's eyes held compassion, not pity. After dinner, Liam fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from excitement. Ethan apologized for the simplicity of the meal, but Clara shook her head. "It was perfect," she said, her voice low. "Sometimes, warmth matters more than flavor." They stood by the window for a moment, the city lights reflecting in the glass. Clara admitted she'd been struggling too, not financially, but emotionally. She was the CEO of a growing tech firm, recently promoted after years of sacrifice. Success had brought her everything she thought she wanted, but also loneliness. Her life was filled with board meetings, late nights, and people who treated her like a title, not a person. "I haven't had dinner with a family in years," she confessed softly. "I almost forgot what it feels like." Ethan was stunned. He had never guessed she was someone so powerful. Yet, here she was, standing barefoot in his humble apartment, thanking him for a meal made from canned sauce and noodles. It was a strange, almost sacred moment. Two people from completely different worlds, finding comfort in each other's presence. Over the next few weeks, Clara began visiting more often. Sometimes she'd bring groceries, claiming she bought too much. Other times, she'd help Liam with his school projects or simply join them for dinner. Slowly, laughter began to fill the apartment again. Ethan, who had once believed happiness was behind him, started to smile more. He found himself looking forward to her visits, to her gentle humor, to the way she listened without judgment. Still, deep inside, Ethan hesitated. He couldn't let himself hope too much. He was a single dad with debt and responsibilities, and she was a woman of influence and means. It wasn't just pride, it was fear. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of not being enough. One evening, as Clara helped Liam set the table, Ethan overheard his son whisper, "Dad smiles more when you're here." It broke something inside him. The fragile wall he had built around his heart since Maya's death. Later that night, when Clara was about to leave, Ethan found the courage to speak. He thanked her for being kind, for treating them like family, but admitted he didn't understand why she spent so much time with them. She looked at him for a long moment before replying. "Because sometimes, the richest moments come from the simplest lives. You and Liam remind me what I've been missing, love that isn't based on anything but care." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat by Liam's bed, watching his son dream peacefully. He realized that maybe, just maybe, life was offering him another chance, not to forget the past, but to heal from it. Weeks passed, and the bond between the three grew stronger. Clara invited Ethan to her office once, not as a worker, but as her guest. He was nervous, surrounded by glass walls and luxury, but Clara made him feel at ease. Her colleagues were shocked to see their CEO smiling so freely. By Christmas, Clara had become part of their lives in every way that mattered. She didn't try to replace Maya. Instead, she brought new light into the shadows Maya had left behind. Liam adored her, and Ethan, he had fallen for her, quietly and deeply. One snowy evening, as they decorated a small tree together, Clara handed Ethan a gift, a set of new tools. "For the handyman who fixes more than things," she said with a smile. His throat tightened as he looked at her, realizing that love had found its way back into his broken world. Softly, unexpectedly, and beautifully, if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stories like these remind us that love and kindness often bloom in the most unexpected places. Speech balloon special request. Comment below. What's one act of kindness that changed your life? That night, after Clara left, Ethan stood by the window, snowflakes drifting past the streetlights. He looked at the table, now quiet, but still warm from the evening's laughter. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He whispered a silent thank you to the universe, to his son, and to the woman who had unknowingly given him back his hope. Because sometimes, healing doesn't come with grand gestures or miracles. Sometimes, it comes when a single dad dares to open his heart again and discovers that love was waiting right there, across the dinner table, all along.